Well, hello, Facebook family and friends. Hello, YouTube. Hello, all y'all people that are digitally out there listening to this message. Hope you're having a good week. It's time for the weekly dose of encouragement. So as I get started, let me just ask you a question. Has the coronavirus, what our country, what the world has been going through, has it caused any changes in you? Has it caused you to be a little bit discombobulated? Has it caused you at all to have any discomfort? Is there anything that has happened with this coronavirus that has changed for you? I kept saying, I have been literally saying, if you've listened to me at all, I realize it's cricket, let me fix it real quick. I've literally said, the coronavirus, this outbreak hasn't really affected our family. And I've said that over and over and over again. And I've talked about how, people, they're really struggling because they don't have income coming in. And that's not our case. And that they're having loss of life. Well, that's not our case. We personally don't know anyone who has been affected by the coronavirus. And so I just keep saying, this really hasn't affected our family. We've continued to homeschool. We've continued to go about life as usual. And turns out that's really not the truth. This morning, I woke up and I've had several days this week where I've just kind of been in a funk. Have you ever been in a funk and you just can't seem to come out of the funk? It just seems like the funk is like threatening to overwhelm you and overtake you. Well, that's my world, and that's just being very transparent right now. And this morning, as I was processing with my husband and trying to figure out, why do I feel the way that I feel? Why am I feeling so discombobulated and so sad and all of these other things? I started processing with him, and he said, Candace, listen, you keep telling people, you keep telling yourself that this coronavirus isn't affecting you, and that's just simply not the truth. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? And so then he went on to just kind of walk me through some things. So do you ever have people in your life that help walk you through, help you find that place where you think that you're peaceful, you think you're steady, you think you're this or that, but it turns out you're actually not? And so you're not only lying to other people unintentionally, but you're actually lying to yourself. And when we don't acknowledge something, we can't address it, we can't fix it, we can't try to make it better or right or whatever the situation is. And so I'm thankful for people in my life, specifically my husband, who I call my Studtacular hubs. I'm so thankful for him because he helps me often to see that I'm actually missing. I'm missing a piece and able to do something. Think about it. If your arm got cut off and you're like, oh, there's no problem there, you would bleed out and die. And so we need to tend to our hearts. So I'll just tell you that this coronavirus is affecting me in ways that I hadn't thought about. Now, listen, this is nothing, not anything in comparison to what the frontline workers, the nurses and the hospital staff and the firemen and the paramedics and the police officers, this is nothing compared to that. But what we need to come to a place in our lives is to understand and to realize that just because our trauma or the way that things affect us isn't as severe as others, it doesn't mean that we're not affected at all. And so there's this measuring and comparison game that people tend to play, like, oh, well, they've got this and mine's not as bad, so I really shouldn't have, hurt or anything like that. That's actually not beneficial, and it's actually not helpful at all. You see, traumas can be just any place where your capacity for pain exceeds your capacity for joy. That's a really simple, easy definition. So if you're in a place, if my love language is touch, if you don't touch me at all, that could be just as bad, if not more harmful than sexual abuse. And so you've got that aspect of it. And then, like I said about this measuring and comparison thing, just because that person was sexually abused and I never went through that, that does not necessarily mean, and I'm just giving you an example, that does not necessarily mean that I shouldn't have pain or sorrow, sadness, regret, remorse, any of those negative that we like to think emotions. And so my husband this morning, he said, Candace, this coronavirus has affected our family. You say it hasn't, but it has. And so he started walking me through. So one of those ways is this. And so again, I'm trying to put this into perspective. If you're in a place where you're kind of struggling with, oh my gosh, this is I'm sad, I don't know why, because I'm not actually watching people die every day and all of that kind of thing, that doesn't mean that you are not being affected. So here you go. So my husband said, he is considered what they call an essential worker right now. He doesn't work in a hospital. He's not a fireman or paramedic or something like that. But what he does is deemed essential. My husband currently right now is working for a company that they go into different businesses. Right now, it's mostly Lowe's and Walmart. And he goes in and he fixes things. He fixes things so that the store can continue to produce what it produces, to sell things and all of that. We still have to buy groceries right now, right? All of us have to buy groceries. If your plumbing breaks and your toilet overflows, you have to go to Lowe's to go pick something up. And so he's going out into those places every single day, in Targets and other places. And he's not only putting himself potentially in jeopardy, but the rest of us. I have an autoimmune disorder, and we've got other family members that we're close to that live very, very close, that we're able to see them, that have autoimmune disorders. I have something going on that if Kelly were to bring home the coronavirus, it would possibly potentially affect us at a greater level than someone who's like all, healthy all the time. And so there's that aspect of it. It's just this, choosing faith over fear and choosing to remain positive even in what is kind of a negative situation, and how to work through these things. And he's encountering and experiencing all these people out in society, and some of them are still being joyful and things like that, but some of them are crazy fearful. And my husband is the type where he's not a feeler, so just because he interacts with it doesn't mean that he recognizes it. So he brings into our home whatever he experienced during the day. And so then there's the aspect of we're trying to keep our family safe. So when he walks in the front door, we say, "Hi, now go take a shower. Get your clothes off, put them in the washing machine, wash yourself." We want to get it all off before we ever embrace. And you may think, well, that's not a big deal at all. But we actually are a family we're very close-knit, intimate family. We hug each other, we kiss each other, we embrace each other. One of my sons, his primary love language is touch. Touch, 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 touch. And then he wants to touch some more. And so that has affected our family, because when he walks in the front door, we are not able to receive him. So we don't get the affection, we don't get to embrace him, but he also doesn't receive that from us. And so that's hard on all of us. And so that intimacy and that connectedness has really kind of affected us in ways that I kept saying, we're not affected by this. Simply not true. Then, my daughter is not considered an essential employee, and so she's not able to work. And so she is having to process through the emotions of not being able to see the baby that she cares for, this boy that is so precious to her, that she has grown such a place in her heart for. So she's got that going on. And even though we love our time together and everything, it's different than what it has normally been. So then there's adjustments, and adjustments aren't bad, they're just adjustments, but we still have to realize that there's adjustments that have to be made. And then finally, this one just really just slammed me yesterday, is that I've put off, I had a prior neck surgery, I had a fusion in 2013. And I really should have had more surgery done at that time, but the long and the short is they only did one of the two procedures and said we do the other later. Well, it only took about a year or so before that part of my neck, the other part that didn't get fixed, started really acting up and being aggravated. And so if we'll just say 2016, okay, and it's 2020. It's been longer than that, but for 4 years, I have been putting off having surgery on my neck. Yes, I've been prayed for. Yes, I believe that Jesus heals for today. It's not about any of those things. I've been prayed for and prayed for and prayed for, but God has told me what we're going to do right now is surgery. So I have finally gotten to the place of, with great courage, with great tenacity, with like, okay, this is what we're doing. And I got myself geared up, and I planned out homeschool for this semester so that I made sure that everything was in order and and I got everything ready. And then COVID hit, and literally it was like a day before the surgery, they cancel everything. And I'm like, okay. And one, I'm trusting God, but again, all those shifting and all those adjustments, we just have to adjust internally as well as our outside world. Okay. And so then they rescheduled it for May the 6th. And I was thinking, okay, in 2 weeks, we're going to get this done. And I'm finally going to move forward in the healing process and all of this other stuff. And then guess what? All of this corona crap has not closed out. It hasn't come to an end. And so as of yesterday, they pushed my surgery out to June the 15th. And so we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of at a place right now where if my husband can't be with me, then we'll just keep pushing it back. But the thing about it is there's lots of things in life Right now, it's the coronavirus that threaten to steal your peace and they threaten to steal your joy. So, if you'll open your Bibles to me, we're going to be in Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. This one's going to be a really short, it's about 4 or 5 minute message. This is titled, His Peace Will Keep You Steady. Again, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. I'm going to be reading from the New King James Version. It says this, "You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you." In the fall of 2016, our family was going through some major life transitions. You see, my husband, Kelly, he was preparing to retire from the military. He had faithfully served the military for 21 years, served our country for 21 years. Woo, good job. All right, and it was time. God said, it's time to move on. It's time to move your family on to what is next. So we prayed and we prayed and prayed, and after much prayer and deliberation, we strongly felt like the Lord was taking us to Christ for the Nations Bible Institute. So finally, can you say finally? We love the finalies. Okay, finally, the highly anticipated day came. Early in the morning on January 9th, 2017, filled with excitement and hope, we loaded up our last remaining possessions and headed out in our moving van. Now, before I go any further in this story, let me give you just a little bit of backstory. At that time, in 2017, Kelly and I had been married for 15 years. We've been married for 18 and a half now. But we had been married for 15 years, and we had moved 15 times. And literally in those 15 years and 15 times of moving, we had sustained literally almost no damage to our property, to our possessions. And I had no reason to think that this time was going to be any different. When we arrived at CF&I, the dean's office assured us that we would have help unloading our goods. Now, lo and behold, we indeed did have help. Experienced and skilled help, not so much. But nonetheless, it was help. One of the first pieces of furniture that came off the moving van was a tall, skinny, beautiful yellow dresser. You see, most of our furniture, most of the things that we own, even this couch behind us, most of it's free. Most of it has been given to us, has been donated. We aren't poor, but I am not going to pass up a good deal, right? So most of our stuff has almost none, if any, monetary value. But there are some pieces of furniture in our home that have great emotional value. And the reason why they have great emotional value is because just like this piece of furniture, right after Kelly and I first got married, so that was 15 years prior, we had bought a furniture set, a dresser, a tall dresser and a long dresser. And right after we got married, we totally renovated it and we totally restored it. It was one of the first things that we had done as a married couple. And as I said, in all these years of being married and all the 15 moves, it had never sustained any damage. Well, this day was different. The next thing I know, one of our helpers has our dresser, this dresser on a dolly, and he is going the wrong way down the step. The dresser dumps off the dolly and with a loud crash hits the floor. Now listen, I was immediately upset. Like you can see by the way that I preach, by the way that I speak, I'm a bit of an emotional person. I'm not afraid to express my emotions. I get very, very happy, and I also get very, very sad. So when that thing hit the ground, I was immediately upset. But within a few minutes, I collected myself and I moved on. You see, because I knew that it was Jesus that was taking us and had brought us to Christ for the Nations Institute, I leaned into him, and I may have lost my cool, but I never once lost my peace. Well, let's continue on with that week, because that week did indeed present us many more opportunities to experience the sustaining peace that only Jesus brings and only Jesus gives. So during that week, our oldest son, Brendan, he got an ear infection, followed by a stomach bug. His fever spiked to 102.5. You know, mamas can't help be mama. We are fierce in our loving, but we are even more fierce in our protecting. So I won't lie, I was a bit frazzled at that point. But Jesus came. He came and he showered me with his peace. Still in that very same week, one of our toilets stopped working, and so we quickly realized that 4 of us would be sharing one toilet, which, you know, that's really not that big of a deal unless everyone needs to go at the same time or unless someone gets a stomach bug. And as I just mentioned, one of us did. It complicated matters quite a bit. And then the final blow came. Due to some unfixable issues in that apartment building that they had put us in that apartment can't even think of the apartment they gave us, we were gonna have to move yet again. See, the apartment that we were moving from had issues, but the apartment that we were moving into had even more issues. It had a major, I mean, can you put in big capital letters, major cockroach infestation? I'm not talking about like, here there's a cockroach or there's a cockroach. I'm talking about here a cockroach, there a cockroach, everywhere a cockroach. And that is disgusting, y'all. I was so grossed out. There was a lot of things, there still are, there's a lot of things that I could tolerate, but just cockroaches, listen, those are just one of them that I just do not do. I began to panic. I began to lose my cool, but then the strangest thing happened. A balm of peace dropped into my heart, and like floodwaters covering the earth, all my negative emotions got bound up by Jesus's peace. I felt the Father giving me an invitation to walk in his peace, and guess what, y'all? I accepted. You need to know this today. Jesus is the Prince of Peace, and he lives inside of you. No matter how much you lose your cool, don't you ever, don't ever let you lose your peace. When God tells you to do something, no matter what circumstances are presented to you, no matter how hard it gets, you must put a stake in the ground and be firm in what he has spoken to you. Don't let things rattle you. He told you, periods at the end of the sentence, keep on moving. When you're doing what God has called you to do, his peace will be steady in you. So today, I just want to bless you. I just want to bless you with a radical, tenacious amount of faith to hear the voice of the Father, to receive his words deep down in you and plant it so deep down within you that when the shaking happens, because it will happen, the Bible is very clear that in this world we will have trouble, but what? Take heart that he has overcome the world. So when those things come down and they try to shake you and they try to mold you into what they want, that you've got that stake in the ground and you stay unmovable, firmly fixed, firmly planted on the one who is unshakable. Y'all listen, whatever's going on in your world today, there is nothing bigger, nothing greater, nothing more powerful than Jesus. There's nothing that has ever been done to you, nothing that you've ever done to yourself that is greater than his love. So I just bless you today to be a great receiver of his love. I bless you to be nothing more, nothing less, perfectly perfect in every way, to know who you are and whose you are. I bless you to know your identity, your value, and your worth. I bless you with radical, tenacious, just overwhelming encounters with the love of the Father, because it's only in those encounters that you have the ability to sustain, that you have the ability to change, that you have the ability to walk out the things that he's instructed you to do, and you have Holy Spirit living inside of you. If you do, I should say. If you're not saved, we can talk about that later. But listen, if you have Holy Spirit living inside of you, you have everything that you need. You have no lack inside of you except for what you agree with. So today, that's what I want to bless you with. I bless you right now to just even, as I said earlier, you may not be in the middle of the corona cray-cray, as in people around you are dropping like flies, or you're tending to those that are, but that doesn't mean that your world hasn't had some shaking. Maybe you've just even gotten to the place where you've had to question, what do I believe? If I were to die today, what would happen to me? Because see, that's what happens too. When death starts to invade a country, when it starts to invade a society, people start wondering, where am I going to go? Am I going to go to heaven? What happens to my spirit? Does it hurt when I die? And they start asking all these questions. And you know, we stay inside of our heads a lot of times, but if we'll just expose it to the light, so much can change. As I was saying when I began this, I've had a rough week. I've woken up more than one time this week, and it possibly is because I'm a feeling everyone else around me, feeling the world around me. But this morning especially, I was so discombobulated. And so my husband and I, we had to work through a few things, but then in great love and connectivity and intimacy with my family, I just told them where I was at. Told them I was having a tough time and that I really needed some extra grace and mercy. And it just by even releasing those words, I did not diarrhea and vomit all over them, and I don't want you to do that with people because that's just not loving your kind. But I told them where I was at. I let them know that I was struggling, and sometimes Oftentimes, if we will just let someone else know that we're hurting, what it does is it breaks the back of that thing, because that thing cannot stand. It cannot stand in the light. Think about it. If a room is dark and you turn on the light, it is no longer dark, no matter how faint that light is. So I bless you today to just turn on the light. I bless you today to just be intentional in what you receive inside of you, what you see through your eye gates and through your ears. And I bless you to be intentional about what you release into the world today. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you soon. Bye.